You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Are you ready? I'm saying, are you ready? Watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform
Or ask your smart speaker.
to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Right, Chris.
Alrighty, good evening, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good night, goodbye, hello, depending where you are in the world. Welcome along. This is the LTID TV from Leicester Till I Die. I hope you are well. I feel it's a bit like getting back on the horse this week, isn't it? Or the bicycle. I'm not with it, to be honest with you. I apologise. We were a bit late starting because, I was out last night and I thought I was prepared for the show, and I wasn't because I had to go back out today and help a brass monkey look for his balls. It was absolutely freezing last night, and I did not get back in. I went to see Jeff Stelling and Bianca Westwood. Well, Bianca Westwood, Jeff Stelling just happened to turn up. You know what it's like. And by the time I got back, it was late. Then I had to watch The Traitors, and it was a late night. So apologies for that. But this is the preview show. First versus second part 2. We can't let it slip again, can we? We'll be talking today from Blue Monday podcast, Ipswich Town fan, and of course our Craig. Straight after this. Craig, hello, sir. Good evening. How are you?
I'm very good, Chris. Nice to see you. Nice to see everyone. How are you doing anyway after your night out? You know, that's you done for the year.
It is. It is. I tell you what, if it's that cold again, I had to get 2 buses, and I got dropped off in Bournemouth from one bus on the way back, and I was running to get my connection. It was one of those, where you can see the bus and you can see it's about to pull out, and it's will you make it or will the bus pull out first? And I have to say the bus pulled out first, which would have given me half an hour stood in the cold. But I think he looked at me, the bus driver, saw a nice old man struggling with a picture frame and let me get on. Otherwise I would have definitely been looking for my balls today. It's a bit cold down in -5 this morning. What was it like down there? Up there, I should say.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same. It was maybe even 6, I think. It was, let's just say it was chilly. You were out in Christchurch, weren't you?
I was, yes.
Yeah. I spent many a time there in my youth.
Did you remember do you know the Regent Theatre?
I can't picture it now. I'm gonna say it's a long time ago, my youth.
I did like to say.
Yeah, my grandma used to live just outside Christchurch, so we were down there quite a bit.
Absolutely lovely place, but not at sort of 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night in January, right, when we're in the middle of a freeze. LDH is in. Hello, how are you? Welcome along. John is in. Good evening. And Scott is in as well. Good evening, Scott. Hope you are well. I have been surrounded by Ipswich fans. We'll bring Dave in a second. I was actually, I couldn't believe it. I was sat down because we went in and had the meet and greet first. Then you go off and you have a drink and what have you. Oh my God, here we go. The Twitch wankers are coming in, offering their promotion of the channel. Disaster. No wonder that's what you called. And I sat down for the start of the show after a drink. Who was sat in front of me? 2 Ipswich fans. You're everywhere, Dave.
Yeah,
What are you doing?
we're everywhere. We're everywhere, aren't we? Yeah. No, good to see you too. Good to see you. Thanks for having me on. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, the word is spreading. We're everywhere, aren't we? But yeah, you're right. You're very lucky down in Poole. Lovely part of the world down there.
It is. I did say to them actually. I said, do make the most of it because this is probably the last time you're going to be in front of us all season.
well, yeah. You've still got a pretty healthy, despite the last the set of results last weekend. You've still got a pretty healthy lead, haven't you?
We have, yes. Although,
Incredible.
yeah, it could get interesting, of course, if you win on Monday.
Yeah, it could be very interesting. I mean, what a season! I mean, for both clubs. I mean, even Southampton as well. All those three comfortably averaging just about over. Yeah, Southampton also over 2 points a game. I mean, I think I looked early and sort of totted up your points and taken in the last 19 games. If you still keep up the same points average, I think you'll finish with 110. I mean, it's just absurd, isn't it? I think if we keep up the same average, we'll just fall short of the magic 100. We'll have perhaps the 98, the 98 that we got, I believe, last season. But yeah, I mean, this season to date has just been really beyond our wildest dreams, to be fair. And I think I'd speak on behalf of every Ipswich fan that I think we thought with the momentum we had last season and how we achieved the second place overhauling Sheffield Wednesday and the brilliant last 16 games, winning 15 of those, scoring goals for fun. I think we thought that perhaps we might have a edge of the playoffs, or perhaps pushing towards the playoffs, or even edging the playoffs. But yeah, this is just in the realms of fantasy for us so far this season, really.
Well, I was sent one of those things. Kate's one of the co-presenters on the channel, and she sent me one of those supercomputers from one of the papers that they were prediction how it's going to go. Apparently, we are going to come first. This will please you, Craig. We're going to come first with 117 points, and Ipswich are going to come second with 88. Now, that I know. Ow, yes. I don't know where that came from. West Brom were third with 85, then Southampton with 84. I don't know. Whoever put that one together, I'm going to buy him a pot.
Yeah. So that means you're going to have an even better last 19 games than the first 27. You're just going to blow everyone apart.
We'll have won the title by Easter.
Oh, comfortably. Yeah. Well, hang on. According to that, you've won the title by 29 points? 100? Did you say 117 or 107?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, the biggest shock is only. Sorry. Yeah, the biggest shock is the gap. I mean, that just seems ridiculous to me.
I think it is. I mean, it's going to be tighter than that. I mean, that to me, I did say to your colleague earlier when we recorded the Talk Sports show, it's always a tough league, and I did not expect us to be. I don't think any Leicester fan or Ipswich fan, in fairness, expected to be where we are now. But I mean that's just ridiculous.
I think to be fair, I think pretty much you'd expected Leicester to be there. To be fair,
really?
With the squad you've got, I would have thought. I mean, any of those parachute teams. Look, they're all there or thereabouts, aren't they? Leeds, Southampton, they're all there, top. Comfortably in the top four. All I think at this moment in time, just challenging Leeds and Southampton, challenging us as it stands, I'd say challenging us for the second spot. However, as you said, and it's a big if we can get a win on Monday evening, that certainly does make it interesting.
Interesting to see. I mean, do you look at Leicester? I mean, a lot of opposition fans say this. We've had it all season, haven't we, David? No disrespect, but they come to us and go like, "Well, you're a Premier League team and you've got all this money, etc." No, we're not a Premier League team, because if we were, we'd still be there. You know what I mean? And yeah, do you look at us and think, we are sort of cash rich? Because we are in a transfer window where we're after a player that's going to cost us 1.7 million euros, and we can't afford to buy him until we sell somebody.
Yeah, I mean, look, this I suppose the financial fair play and where you are, but I mean, I think that a Premiership club. I mean, just looking at the squad of players, I would suggest that's a Premier League squad of players for sure. You've got. I mean, I was watching it at Ipswich the other day and looking at, you've got 2 centre backs who are Belgian internationals. And, aside from that, Mabadidi and Didi, I mean, Dewsbury Hall, I mean, right through the team as quality. And then, not that I'm sure maybe you'll have a comment on this, not that he set the place alight, to put it mildly. You then bring Iheanacho on after about 65 minutes. You think, bloody hell, what a squad! And that was without, obviously, Vardy was missing. Then he wasn't even on the bench, still injured. I'm not sure who's the other Belgian guy, Pratt. I'm not sure even he was on the bench that day. I can't remember. But yeah, it's a looking at it from outside, it's a very, very extremely talented, extremely good squad of players, I think, and experienced as well, and experienced not only at Premier level but at international level as well. The core of the team. Anyway.
Craig, Dennis Pratt, he used to be in the Carry On films, didn't he? Carry On, Sick Note.
Right.
That's harsh. I think when he's been fit, he's just not been utilised, has he? I think he's been very unlucky that he's never really found his position and been able to have enough games to cement it. So he's always been coming in and filling gaps and then picking up an injury again. And he's just had managers who not like.
He comes on 10 minutes, he gets injured, he goes off. Cervante says, can't we report Ipswich to the police for stalking? And, in fact, we should.
Can I just point out that you invited me on?
Yeah. Well, Turvet, we've got to be careful, because it isn't particularly a very funny note, that, because Craig, of course, I don't know if anybody knows, but he does actually have a stalker. Thankfully, because of the way his camera's set up, we can't see it. So that's the good
Okay.
Sorry,
We'll talk afterwards about this. Obviously, need to. But what I do remember about
that way, though, Dave, because every time, and I said this on the show earlier, that every time we sort of lose the game, you look at Ipswich and they bloody win. Will you stop winning? Or every time we look at you, you 1-0 down, but you end up winning the game 2-1. You're like that Black Knight from the Monty Python film. Chop a leg off. Oh, it is but a scar. Don't worry.
Last weekend, the win over Sunderland, in my opinion, I think the majority, it's the biggest win of the season for us so far. So we're coming off the back of not many defeats. I think it's 4 out of 5 consecutive draws, and then a real thumping, if you remember, by Leeds just before Christmas. And then 2, obviously a draw with you guys, which we certainly, for us, it was a point gained. And then 2 really disappointing results. Got a goalless draw at home with QPR, should have won. And also Stoke away, who played with 10 men for about the last 20-25 minutes. Probably didn't really create much, them should have won. So I had a cup match against Wimbledon away, which we won 3-1, which was good for confidence, I suppose. And going into that game last Saturday, if you remember, Southampton had won easily 4-0. In the 3 o'clock kickoff. So going into that game, last Saturday at 5:30, we'd been dislodged. We were 3rd, and that's the first time since, was it end of September or something like that? It was such a crucial, massive win. And also we're without our most influential player, who's suspended again for the Leicester game, is Sammy Morsey, who's just been at a level this season. It's just been unbelievably good all season. Obviously, he of the deflected goal, which we'll get onto. But we went 1-0 down against Sunderland, but we showed a lot of character. We had Lewis Travis making his debut, who we got in on loan from Blackburn till the end of the season, who, filled the kind of Morsey role, I guess, to a degree on the night. But in my mind, he's just irreplaceable. We got the job done. I mean, I don't know if you saw the winning goal. I mean, it's crazy. It was another assist by Leif Davis to Connor Chaplin, who's like all of 5'6", who was just totally unmarked, literally 6 yards out, and just couldn't miss. But really good.
I watched that, and there's an angle from behind the goal, I think, looking in, and he doesn't move.
He doesn't move
an inch. He takes a position and stands there, and the ball lands right on his head with no
It's
challenge at
yeah,
all.
it's a great delivery from Davis, who's just absolutely unbelievable with his assist from that side, especially. But yeah, I think it's quite a well rehearsed move. I think if you look closely at that, there's some pretty good blocking by our centre halves as well there, which look, we know goes on in every penalty area, every single corner. But there was some pretty good blocking there, and yeah, he's still got to put it in. It's a good header. He's from that, he's a great finisher, Connor Chaplin. So yeah, absolutely massive win, especially if we'd have lost that one or even drawn that one, okay, we'd have still been ahead by a point. But I think Southampton are at Swansea this weekend, which again you'd probably expect them. The run they're on is just ridiculous, isn't it? You'd expect them to get 3 points there. So yeah, as it stands, if they do get 3 points at Swansea, we will be second on goal difference going into the game on Monday. But I think in a far better place, obviously, than if we'd lost and not had any sort of kind of momentum going into that game.
Craig, I asked you this a lot last season, so I've got two questions for you, Craig. First one, would you take? Well, no, we'll save that one till later. But would you take
what that
draw?
might be?
Was what I always asked you last season.
Yeah.
The one that I'm always asking you this season is, I mean, my worry is that we haven't really had our dip yet, have we? Yes, we lost 2 games in a trot, and that's really kind of been it. We've never sort of gone a long run where we haven't got a win, and I'm worried that we've still got that to come because every team has one, doesn't it?
I'd look at it slightly differently, I think, and say that we have had a dip, but we've not been beaten during it. I think if you look at the level of performance, probably over the last half a dozen, it's not been as good as it was. We've not been finishing teams off. So I would say we've got away with having a dip. I can't imagine us playing that badly that we get consecutive. We could always easily, lose against Ipswich because it's a good team, but I couldn't necessarily see us stringing a run of defeats together and having that level of a dip. I think our dip is maybe having 2 or 3 draws, just letting the performance level drop rather than a run of defeats.
And that's been the same with us, really. Over Christmas and that New Year period, obviously started with it really started. I hate to say it, with the 2-2 draw at home to Norwich, who we should have been probably out of sight by half time, and we were scoring goals for fun prior to that. Still scored 2 that day, but yeah, probably missed 2 or 3 really, really good chances, which up till that point have been really unusual for us. We'd been pretty much sticking every decent chance away. So pretty much started with that, and then Leeds just blew us away. First half, we didn't play that well, particularly that day. I think one of the major factors, Sammy Morsey, central midfielder captain, was on 9 yellows, and I think, he was certainly if you looking back at that game, a couple of the goals, perhaps had he not been sitting on a suspension, he may well have just put his foot in and took one from the team and prevented a goal. But no, Leeds were far too good for us on the day.
I remember doing because we didn't play that day. No,
I don't think you did.
And I remember doing the watch along for the Ipswich Leeds game, and I don't want to sound awful here, but I couldn't believe how bad you were.
Oh,
I mean,
terrible.
Leeds were all over you, and I kind of said, like, God, if Leeds had a decent start, which they didn't have, playing this way, yes, they are going to come for us, which is what they were saying after they beat us. I mean, obviously they've fallen away, but can you please play like that Monday night?
Well, hopefully we've got that out of our system. But going on to what Craig was saying, and then subsequent to that game, we've had after that game we've had like three or four draws. A couple of the disappointing ones, QPR, obviously, the 1-1 draw at home at Leicester. The whole narrative of that game, absolutely delighted with a point. But the QPR game and perhaps the Stoke game were disappointing. But hopefully that's our blip. The major really point for us in the game against Leicester was the injury to George Hurst. I mean, that's just really rocked us, and he ruptured hamstring. I can't believe he'll be back. He'll be back this season. You see, he's now out and about. I saw him prior to the game Saturday evening, sort of like hobbling along the touchline on crutches, and he's obviously in a brace and stuff like that. So that's sad. He was such an important player for us, and we're looking to actively recruit a striker in the window. But as you guys probably know, trying to recruit a striker in the January transfer window is like pulling teeth, for God's sake,
Well, I think wherever you go for, it's a bad window. I don't like the January window at all.
No.
I just want to say, you see there, we are, as you know from the jingles, that we are, and so are Blue Monday podcast, the Ipswich channel, both part of the TalkSport fan network, and they have got a new show now every week on a Thursday. It was 5 o'clock today, but it's 6 o'clock every Thursday moving forward. They do have the new ELF show, TalkSport 2 it is on at 6 o'clock on a Thursday. You will have missed, obviously, this week's, but it is available as a podcast, so check that out, TalkSport 2. And I'm actually talking to Dave's colleague, and I apologise because I've forgotten his name.
Rich Woodward.
That's it, yeah. And we had a bit of banter earlier, and you can hear us. And it wasn't all Leicester Ipswich. They were covering the Reading debacle at the moment as well. So it was a really good show, despite the fact that I fell asleep. So I'm going to go and listen to it back. But do check that out. TalkSport 2 on the podcast, and then moving forward every Thursday at 6 o'clock. Craig, I mean, moving on, I looked at sort of, Leicester had got relegated. Dean Smith, we thought may be staying with Craig Shakespeare. There was a few managers that were sort of being linked with us. Enzo, and whilst obviously they'd been talking to him for a while, because you never get any sort of deal done that quickly, Enzo came in. But in that interim period, one manager that I would have been quite happy to take, and I apologise for this, Dave, but I think the results have proved me right, and that is Kieran McKenna. Would you have been in? I mean, he's done a good job, hasn't he, Craig?
He's doing a fantastic job. I mean, sometimes you see it, don't you, that teams have momentum, as they come through the divisions. But to do it with, and no disrespect, a fairly limited squad in terms of depth, but also, there's not a lot of household names there. So what he's done is the best kind of manager for me is one who identifies how he wants to play and then recruits players to play that way and in those positions. So you get a proper team who work for each other and all know the jobs that they're being asked to do. And then when one drops out, you can pull in another one. And I think that's the way forward. We've talked on this channel, previous games about having a manager who can set a style of playing throughout the club that continues once the manager's gone. And I think for too long, it's been a new manager comes in and he brings his own way of playing. And now that isn't sustainable. You've got to, I think more and more clubs, particularly the size of us, Ipswich, there's enough clubs similar size, isn't there? Norwich, another one, those ones. I think they need to identify a style of football, a way, an identity within the club that they can then just bring managers in to continue that thing. The way of just bringing managers in, changing style, which means players who were on high wages all of a sudden are kicked out and they're on the bench just, taking the money or whatever. I think if you can do that, have an identity, it's much better for the long-term benefit of the club and the stability. And I think that's what we've got with Maresca.
Because on this day in 1993, I'm full of useless information here. Elton John gave up ownership of Watford Football Club, and they like to change the manager at the drop of a hat, don't they? Well, Dave, you've got to be impressed with him. I mean, I must admit, when I was doing this earlier, I did think you suddenly appointed Phil Neville.
Well, no, honestly, and it's really funny you should say that because when he was first appointed, completely left field. So obviously, our recruitment and Mark Ashton, our CEO, absolutely unbelievable due diligence to find him. To be fair, I mean, it's not to find him. Obviously, I'd guarantee 95% of Ipswich supporters hadn't heard of him. I hold my hands up. I don't think I've got a reasonable bit of football knowledge that extends to the Premier League. I'd never heard of him. And you mentioned Phil Neville, and yeah, I mean, going back to the Solskjaer and Ragnick days of Man U, if you looked at, week in, week out, Man United on the TV, why is Phil Neville sitting next to Michael Carrick? I mean, obviously, at least you didn't get that close, but from a distance. And then he was appointed. Paul Cook was manager, and that really didn't. Just really didn't work out. In deference to Paul Cook, in that summer after the summer of 2021. After the takeover by the new owners in April 21. I think he signed something like 19 players, of which, Christian Walton, who's actually not in goal now, but was magnificent last season, Sammy Morsey, Connor Chaplin, Wes Burns. So they came in that summer. But so, yeah, when so he's been there just over 2 years now when McKenna was appointed, yeah, you could see pretty much from the off what he was about. He wanted to play with a certain, style and a certain identity. And he's just been, you could just see the coaching, some fairly players that were even perhaps on the periphery of the squad back then. One in particular, left centre back, Cameron Burgess, who's actually won't be playing Monday. He's away with Australia. Was really nowhere near, looked like a half decent lower League One left-sided centre back. I mean, you could just see how well this guy's been coached. He's come on absolutely leaps and bounds, and really comfortably holding his position, in the team this year, and has been challenging for first and second right the way through. So yeah, it's not just that. You can see just right the way through the coaching and the coaching staff as well. It's absolutely incredible, and to hear the players speak about it, they're obviously hold him in that in the highest esteem and really appreciate what he's doing for their careers, really. And really the big thing for me is you talk about momentum from last season and where we are now in second, and have been second for 3 or 4 months now. Arguably, the first 11 with Hurst's long-term injury now, the first 11 and the goalkeeper, who was our reserve keeper last year, would be the 11 that carried all before them for the last 15, 16 games of last season. Arguably, that would be our best 11 now. It's just absolutely incredible how he's...
It is about carrying that momentum on, isn't it, Craig? I mean, we did when... when we did the Great Escape, that last run that kept us up was what we carried on to the next season, albeit with a new manager. But Scott wants to ask you something, Craig, here. He says, correct me if I'm wrong, but are you referring to the club's need to stick with possession-based or counter-attack football and get managers that play that way?
I'm basically saying that I think it's longer term is a better strategy for a club to have an identity of the way they play, because that can be instilled throughout all of the age groups. There's no point, bringing young players through a system, playing one way, and then they get into the first team and we've just sacked a manager, so we bring in Sam Allardyce or somebody who's going to play a totally different way. It makes no sense. If you look at the strategies abroad, particularly in Germany, very often you don't know the managers who get the big jobs because they've come through the system. They have the pipeline already there, and they just continue. What they have is the same way of playing. They just have a different voice and someone who may tweak it slightly, but having a totally different style of play based on a manager who may be there for a year or two makes no long-term sense for me.
Well, he comes in, doesn't he? And he doesn't like the players that the last guy.
Exactly.
I mean, look at us. Christensen, great player. Not, nothing. I thought he'd got a really good future, but he just doesn't fit into the style that Enzo wants to play. And therefore he's out on loan and looks like he'll be going. And you can't keep financially doing that. Right. But I want to talk about, Craig, the season coming up. I said at the start of the season that if it meant that we came up stronger, I would be very happy to sort of sit in sort of 7th, 8th at the end of the season if the following season we came up, a lot stronger. I never expected this season. I mean, I don't think you did either, did you?
No, I think we all hoped, but I think, we... In our wildest dreams, we would have been up and challenging and within touch and, in and around the top 6 the whole of the season, with a realistic chance of making the top two. I don't think anybody would have thought that we would have a sort of 10-point lead going into, way past the half term of the season. So it's beyond, I think it's beyond most fans' realistic ambitions. And just talking about managers, what I would ask a question of Dave is there a concern amongst the Ipswich fans that this has to be the year that you go up, otherwise you're going to lose, Kieran?
No, I don't think so. Not this year. I don't think this year. I think the vast consensus is that no, if we don't make it, let's face it, we're going to be close. Whatever you would think. I mean, it would be an absolute, just looking, and a horrific, God forbid, you're recording me saying this, horrific drop off in form, for instance, and not make the playoffs. For goodness' sake, we're 8 points clear. So no, I don't see. Famous last words. I don't see it this season, but perhaps next season, or even, maybe next season. If we go close this season and we're successful next season, where he's obviously he's really showed his credentials in the Championship. Then, I see perhaps the next season being more of a concern, and even perhaps more so with a. I don't know. I'm not saying the top 4 teams. He's not ready for a Man United or anything like that. But what concerns me is, Ian, if we get up this year, someone like let's face it, he might not still be there. Someone like a West Ham or someone like that. That would be the type of club that came
calling. West Ham or a Crystal Palace or that
I don't see a. No disrespect to Palace. I don't see a Palace. I don't see that. But a club like West Ham, you'd think, that you'd perhaps have to take that seriously.
Yeah,
but I don't see that at the moment. I don't think.
I think it would be hard for him to turn down a Premier League job in the summer if you haven't got up. I honestly, because
depends which one, though, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but you're ahead of your schedule now. We know you could have a bad season, he'll be out of a job. This is the reality. So that's why it becomes really difficult. We would be in the same position. I'm not sure managers are prepared to play the long game as much as they were.
Craig, it's a tough one. I mean, his ceiling is so high, isn't it? And he's 37. He's it's going to happen for him. So for that alone, I think maybe I'm looking through blue tinted spectacles here, but I'd like to think that we'll be okay into next season. I'd like to think that, but obviously his stock is so high, and quite rightly so. It's the whole package with him. I mean, you hear him speak. He speaks really well. Carries himself well. He's just, we're very don't kid us. We're very, very lucky to have him.
I'd like to see it. Craig. Sorry, because you've got like Graham Potter, absolutely flying at Brighton. Chelsea came in. Now the thing is,
wrong job.
Yes, it was the wrong job, but how can you turn it down? Because you don't know if you turn that down, and then suddenly Brighton's form was to dip a little bit. Yeah. You may not get that option again. Now, all right, he went to Chelsea. It didn't work out for him, but I'm sure he's enjoying the, million or two that's sat in his bank account. That means he doesn't have to work for a while and can wait for the next job to come in. And I think that's how managers look at it. And, Enzo, he didn't do very particularly well at Parma. Maybe wasn't given the time. We could lose him, could we not, Craig, to a team. And again, it fails, but he would look at that and look at Brendan Rodgers. Unfortunately, I've got to mention him. Came down to Leicester to rebuild his career. In the first sort of 18 months, he was being linked with, Tottenham, Man United. I think was it Barcelona, Real Madrid, one of those. And then at the end, he was being linked with Celtic again. And that's how quickly it changed. And I think managers have to take. People always say, why do managers take the Watford job? Because they'll get a huge payout if it doesn't come off. It's a win-win for them, Craig, isn't it?
I'd love to see him stay, and I'd love managers to be given the time to build something, because in the long term, that benefits most people. But it's the nature of modern football, and as we've discussed so many times, there's so much about the modern game that I hate, And
but why should managers show any loyalty to clubs? Because clubs won't show any loyalty to managers.
Yeah, I'm with your vintage guys, and I can revert back, and it's totally different. I know back to when we had Bobby Robson in charge of
Yeah.
Ipswich, and all through literally every other season, maybe even every season throughout the 70s, there was well common knowledge he was virtually going to Everton, and in the last minute, the story was leaked by Everton, so he couldn't go, and that was like 76, 77, something like that. Before the FA Cup, before the UEFA Cup win. So I get your point that managers' loyalty, and no doubt it would be really, really tough for him to turn if a big club came calling. It'd be really tough for him to turn it down. But I think from what I understand with him and the coaching staff, I'd like to think he's going to see the job through with Ipswich, and the job through with Ipswich would be getting his promotion.
Well, Rico says there, Everton. Rico, he is an Everton fan, but look, Rico, if he gets Ipswich promoted, why would he then want to go to Everton? They're going to have more points deducted, and they end up in the Championship. Sorry, mate. I love you. I love you.
They're going to have the best ground. They're going to have the best stadium. No, they're not next season. Now it's been deferred, hasn't it? But it must be tough, very, very tough being an Everton.
Yes, look, Rico comes in regularly. He knows that I don't have any. I have a little bit of bitterness towards Everton as a club, not him as a fan. But look, there's your season's form. I mean, you haven't been out of the playoff zone. You've been literally in that top six.
Yeah.
And apart from the first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, you've been in the top 2.
Yeah, we had a great start. We had a really good win. It was the reverse fixture to last weekend. We had a really good opening day win at Sunderland. Second half, a bit backs to the wall, but saw it, went 2-0 up and then conceded and saw it out. And that just gave us the momentum to kick on with there. We've only lost 3 games. Ironically, Leeds twice, who we've conceded 8 to. But after we play you on Monday, out of that top 4, we've only got Southampton left to play at home. Fortunately, we played Southampton and beat them at St Mary's when they were going through their really dodgy spell at the start of the season. I think that must have been 5 games in, something like that, early summer. Other than that, we've been pretty good at beating all those things. The only other game we've lost is West Brom away again. We got a bit bullied out of that one, similar to the Leeds game, really. Not bully on the Leeds outplayed us on the day. So did West Brom, but they were just too strong for us on the day. So, I mean, it is incredible. Sometimes you're almost lost for words about it. Really, we just did not. I mean, I know you guys said you didn't expect to be where you are. Well, yeah, I mean, looking at it from our point of view, we really didn't expect to be where we are. So, yeah, we're just really, I know it's an old cliche, take each game as it comes, but we're just trying to enjoy it while it lasts.
I did say earlier on
pessimistic fan
on the podcast, at what point does pinching yourself become self-harm? But look, we didn't do a preview for the reverse fixture because it was on Boxing Day, and obviously we'd got Christmas and everything, and we were playing on the Saturday, so it was all a bit too crashed up. But look, I went into that Ipswich game, I've got to be honest with you, Craig, saying I would have been happy with the draw. Coming out of that game, having got the draw, I was effing fuming because
yes, you were.
Sorry.
Yes, you were.
Well, I think
I'll have to look back on that.
It was like we've got Brendan Rodgers back in the dugout, conceding last minute goals. I mean, yes, it did take maybe a few. It was like a woman on a sat nav the way that goal went in. It took that many side turns.
It was a weird. Like I said to you, before we kicked off tonight, it was a kind of strange game because you just looked. You had like total control, and then you got the goal, and who was it, Vestergaard and Faust having a lovely old time just chipping the ball across to each other and to the full backs, and you really looked in total control. Now I think a changing point in the game was and Didi picked up a booking quite not that far into the second half, certainly maybe even been before the hour, and he got hooked immediately, taken off immediately. I think Cassidy might have came on for him possibly, and I think almost the Ipswich players thought, "Whoa, he's going on," he's going off. Not that he'd been outstanding up to that point, but it's still Wilfred Ndidi, for goodness sake. And I think that kind of gave us a little bit of a lift, and you looked like you just could have picked it up and could have picked up the pace and just I'm not saying rolled us over, but certainly gone for it, certainly second half. And you just seemed to sort of be a bit passive. Would you agree with that second half? And I mean, yes, everyone's gutted. I mean, look at the narrative of the goal. I mean, crikey, 3 deflections, but probably on the balance of the second half, we kind of deserved it because we looked the more likely perhaps to score.
I think we were a little one-paced and we didn't react to the fact
Yeah.
that you came out and upped the pace.
Yeah.
And we didn't react to it. In the back of my mind, there's an incident where Morside could have got a second yellow. Is that right? In that game?
That could happen in pretty much every game around that.
Yeah. And I'm
I
sure there was talk that he could have gone, and then he obviously crops up and scores the winner. But yeah, I don't think we react particularly well when within a game or second half when teams sort of change the pace of the game and whether you go a bit more direct or a bit more physical. And we seem to be programmed to play one way, and we lack that little bit of guile at the moment, I think, to be able to switch it up. I know people talk about plan B, and which is, I don't like that phrase because it's still going to be the same plan of way we want to play, but sometimes you have to dig in a little bit, and I think we allowed you to take control of it too much.
I think the goal summed it up. It was a bit lazy defending, really. I think we won a throw, didn't we, wide, and it was allowed. Morsey, I think, was just allowed. I think that could have been Cassidy actually squaring him up, and he just was allowed to drop his shoulder.
Yeah.
Had all the time in the world to manoeuvre a shot and get a shot away. But yeah, obviously, you can't legislate for 2 deflections. And like you said there, I think I'd have been absolutely gutted had it been the other way round. Not just even if it's one thing if that shot screams into the top corner, fine, okay, you put your hands up, but the manner of it. But yeah, I mean, we all said before the game, if we can get a point, we're more than happy with a point. And how it turned out, it was superb for us.
For me, had it been the other way round, had we been 1-0 down and we'd got the equaliser in the 93rd minute, my narrative would have been completely different.
Of course it is.
Reaction, of course it would. I'm just looking at it. I mean, you had 19 shots compared to our 5. The thing is, only 16% of your shots were on target, 40% of ours were.
There you go. Yeah, some quality. Yeah. And your goal was a good goal. I mean, there was some criticism over our keeper for your goal, but it's a great goal. Mavididi just gets the ball out of his feet and uses Harry Clark, our fullback, as like the shield to just curl it round him. All right, it didn't actually go right in the far corner, but our keeper got some criticism. I think
he did. I think
it was Mark Schwarzer. I think Schwarzer was the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I thought they were being very harsh on him.
Yeah, he said he thought his weight was a great finish, for God's sake. Good player as well. Mavididi, lovely player. I particularly enjoyed watching Dewsbury Hall on the night, who I said wasn't particularly outstanding in the game, but technically he's just a premier player, isn't he?
Your memories of it, did you go, Craig? I can't remember whether you went.
No. Obviously, I was a victim of Sky, as many of us were. Decided to just move it not only to Boxing Day, but to a ridiculous time kickoff as well. So hands up to all those who did make it.
What I would say, incredible support we couldn't believe it. Incredible support from Leicester for a 8:15 kickoff on Boxing Day. Amazing support in numbers, brilliant.
Yeah, I'm going to say they are good. I went to the away game down in Cardiff recently, and again, that was a long drag on a. I can't remember what that. I think that was a Monday night or whatever. But New Year's. But yeah, we have got a good support. But that game, it was almost like one of those games where you can see it coming, but then, if you just scored with 20 minutes to go, we could have said, it's been coming, and now let's just hang on and take the point. The fact that it was so late, we thought we'd done it, but we've had too many of those for me, where we think we've done it. We did it at Chef Wednesday. We thought we had the game sewn up, and we strolled through the rest of that game, and then and gave up an injury time equaliser in that one as well.
What about last Saturday?
Yeah, moving on.
I mean,
that's a perfect example of us not being able to match the opposition's kind of work rate and physicality. And it sounds bad that we got bullied.
Would have been different had it been 11 versus 11. Not saying we would have won it, but I don't know. It wouldn't have been a 3-1 defeat, I don't think.
Yeah, but it shouldn't have been a 3-1 defeat anyway. I mean, every team has gone down to 10 men, and I think we sat back too much and gave them too much respect and thought, well, we're good enough to hang on here, for 40 minutes, 45 minutes. When, as soon as the first goal had gone in, we decided to push men forward. We could have got another goal. Cassidy, we had 2 or 3 opportunities to score. And it was like there wasn't that belief that we could go and get a second goal. And it's like, okay, we'll batten down the hatches. And, you're always liable to let a goal in when you allow the ball in your box that much.
I mean, if we're going to talk Coventry, let's talk Norwich City.
I knew it was coming. No, I was going to say, good little player, that Callum O'Hare, isn't he? Great little player.
He is, but he's a cocky little shit, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I know he is, but I know he's arrogant, but he's good. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah. I think Luke summed it up when he said, "God, I just want to." He's got the most punchable face in the division, But look, like I say, I would have taken that at the start, but was extremely annoyed at the end.
Yeah.
But going into this match, Craig, our form, apart from Coventry, we beat Millwall in the cup. We beat Huddersfield 4-1, one of our better wins. We beat Cardiff, like you say, on the 29th, 2-0. And before that, obviously, we drew with the team we're talking about today, Ipswich. We haven't, apart from that game when we lost, obviously, to the games we lost to Leeds and Middlesbrough, whenever we've lost a game, we've only lost 3 all season. But we've always seemed to have not let it bother us. We've not, like you said before, we haven't had that slump, have we, where, we suddenly go into a run of losses. How important is it that we get a win in this game?
I think it's important not to lose more than get a win, to be honest. I think we're all respectful of Ipswich and what they can do. So it would be a little bit arrogant to just say, we expect to win.
Not saying we expect to win. I'm saying how important is it that we win?
As I say, I think it's important not to lose. I think that's the key in these. It's when, you can put together a loss as long as you're showing some improvement. If it's the next one against a tough team is a draw, you've almost, put that one behind you. I think it's the first time where we've probably played back-to-back games where teams are going to be more aggressive and physical with us. I mean, if you look at some of those victories, we're at our best when teams watch us play. We are finding ways to break down teams who sit back. What we're not so good at is dealing with teams who are a lot more aggressive, physical, fast. And that's where we've come unstuck in a little bit. And now we had that against Coventry, and we're going to come up against the same in Ipswich, I think. So I think it's a tough game. And I would, obviously the manner of a draw, again, comes into it. But I would be hoping for a win, but I would potentially say a draw isn't a bad result.
Dave, how important is it for Ipswich to win? If you lose this, at the moment, it's 7 points is the difference between our two teams at the moment. If you beat us, that takes it down to 4, and suddenly you're looking at just a win and a draw away from actually catching us. But if you were to lose to Leicester and Southampton were to win over the weekend, they would go above you because, the better goal difference, well, depending on what the scores were, obviously. But if, they're on 55. Is it? I'm not saying it's a must win, but is it really? You need the win, don't you?
I think if we can come at what time's the kickoff? At 10 o'clock on Monday evening, if we're still above Southampton in the table, we have had a fantastic weekend. I think. I fully expect Southampton on the run they are. It's just ridiculous to beat Swansea, which will mean we'll have got at least a point. And I think. Yeah, the vast majority of Ipswich fans would absolutely bite your hand off for a point now, and just keep that. Okay, we lost the game to Leeds, December 23rd, but since 4 games undefeated since then. Again, to get another little unbeaten run going, and look, of course, we're looking over our shoulder at Southampton. They're just an absolute juggernaut, aren't they? It's just ridiculous. The best run of form since 1920s or something like that. It's crazy. And again, a team with money, parachute money, Premiership team, ex-Premiership team, sorry, good squad. So, yeah, we're say looking over our shoulder. We just, and I know it's a cliche, but we're really just taking each game as it comes. And do you know what? I think we almost, especially after the most important, the victory over Sunderland last weekend, we're almost seeing the Leicester game as a free hit almost. Do you know what I mean? It's a game. We don't have to play you again. Fully expect you to carry on your form. And I'm not saying you're going to get 117 points, but I fully expect you to win the division relatively easy. I still expect that. I don't see that drop off. So, yeah, anything we can get on Monday night will be an absolute bonus. And look, what we don't want is to put in a performance like we did away at Leeds and get absolutely.
No, we do. That's what we
don't. And get absolutely royally turned over. But it's going to be tough for us. Morsey, unfortunately, it's his second game, his second game suspension. So he'll be back for the next game up, league game, which I think is Preston away in a couple of weeks after the mighty Maidstone at home in the cup next weekend. So yeah, look, we're absolutely. I don't think
draw everyone wanted.
Yeah, well, it's we should be okay to the fifth round. So I mean, what a season, So at worst, we're going to be going into next weekend. We're going to be either second or level second on goal difference. Hopefully with a win through the fifth round of the cup. I mean, the season just gets better and better, really.
This is something that Kate said the other day, and Dave's mentioned it there. A lot of teams see it as a free hit when they play Leicester. Mm-hmm. I mean, looking at the way, and I know it was a derby, but looking at the way that Coventry fans celebrated beating us, you'd think they'd just got promoted. And I remember when Hull beat us that first time, looking at their post-match shows, it was like they just won the FA Cup as well. Yeah, and almost sort of causes us problems, that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've seen that level of excitement over beating us since Arsenal in the no. when they virtually they won the league when they beat us, I think, at Highbury with a late winner. But yeah, it's going to be, it does allow you become the benchmark, to see where teams. Let's see where we're at against Leicester. So we haven't got anything to lose. That's the mindset, and the fans see it as a great opportunity to come and, get, particularly for the away games. The away games are going to be tough for us going forward because it is going to be a let's strike and bring down the mighty Leicester, as everybody looks at us at the minute. And, and there's a certain amount of this narrative about parachute payment clubs, and it seems to be a lot more vocal this year than it was last year. I don't recall a lot of people picking on Burnley and saying they were a parachute payment club.
When you look at Leicester, Craig, I mean, we were in the trouble we were in because we were sticking to FFP rules. So we didn't spend a lot of money last season. Nothing really in the summer window until Fafana Upton went to Chelsea. So that's why we got relegated, because we were trying to stick to the rules while Everton and Forest were breaking them. This season, we sold, 3 players for £95 million. If you go Castagna, Barnes and Maddison. We did not spend anywhere near that because that all went to pay off loans that we'd taken out. And, we bought in we spent 30 million max on players coming in. So, we haven't got this full pot of money and we're having to try and sell somebody before we can bring in a bloody £2 million, 29-year-old Italian midfielder. So we're not this sort of pot of gold, club that's come down, are we, Craig?
No, I think, it's clear that the teams do get the parachute payments, but it's like it's being used a lot more this year than it ever was for the likes of Burnley.
I think it's getting more used more this year because those parachute teams are all competing, aren't they, in the top 4?
Yeah,
I think
and
that's
they weren't
why.
Last year.
No,
and I think I think our not being able to bring someone in until we sell someone is a little bit of a red herring because I mean if you look at what Maresca said today, I think in his press conference. It was more about we've got to sell someone to make a place in the squad. He didn't
I
really.
haven't seen that, to be honest with you, Craig. But we've let Everson go, so we've got that space in the squad.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, but you can't. You don't take away a goalkeeper and not fill it with another goalkeeper, because if one gets injured, you're down to one. So you will always have.
We've got 5, haven't we? So we've still got 3, even we're letting Everson go. We don't need to.
That was his words. I think I'd be surprised if we can't stump up 2 million, and that's going to get us into financial fair play trouble, to be honest. But it is an indictment of the fact that we are playing by the rules, and as all clubs should be doing. It's ridiculous, and it's a whole nother show about FFP. But still, we get fans complaining if that is the case. We can't, it's terrible, and the same old excuses already I've seen coming out, and fingers being pointed at the board for this, that, and the other. And you've only got to look at what's happening at other clubs and the mess they're getting into with points deductions, or poor Reading. They're for the grace of God go all of our football clubs who have got decent owners, to be fair. So to start picking fault that we can't do this, that, and the other, we've got a strong enough squad, whether we strengthen it or not. To be honest, it shouldn't be an excuse to whether we get promoted or not.
Scott says we've got Luke Thomas back. Luke Thomas will be going straight back out. He's not going to get into this squad. He's not. That's why he went out, because he doesn't.
Yeah, he's not a Maresca player.
It's not exactly. I think we've covered that before, but I think we'll win the championship by 4 points. But look at that form. We go into this, do we not, Dave, as favourites? We're second in the table.
Of course
you are in away form.
Yeah, of course you're favourites. Yeah. I mean, our away form's been particularly I say particularly good. We've only lost one. We only lost one at home. We lost 2 away. But yeah, we've had some great results. Great results on the road. Probably do an away win. I was at the last one, which was Watford. We had a brilliant sort of week leading up to the Norwich game, where we on the Saturday we won away 2-0 at Middlesbrough, and then went to Watford on the Tuesday. I went to that one and beat them 2-1. Again, that was quite a late Morsey goal. So that was the last, I think, early December, like December the 12th. I think that was the last away win we've had. So not that we played that many away since then, but yeah, it'd be good to it'd be good to get another win. But yeah, I think we'd be pushing it to be expecting that on like I said, on Monday evening. Yeah, happily take a point. Just very quickly, what I must mention to you guys was that you mentioned Coventry's celebration at Vita Newlands. Well, can you imagine Norwich's celebrations when they got a 2-2 draw, which I will mention it. My colleagues have slaughtered me for this. Kept up their record of we haven't beaten them in 14 seasons, albeit like 7 of those seasons we've been in completely different divisions. But yeah, if you'd have seen the Norwich, not only the fans, the players celebrating the 2-2 draw, that was just a complete embarrassment. But probably from our point of view, just shows how far with how far we've come in a relatively short space of time.
Yeah, and Scott's just I don't think he'd get in the squad, Scott. What's the point of putting somebody in the squad when he hasn't got a chance of playing? Like Neil says, like they'd won the table. But like Scott said earlier, brilliant. If I could award you a prize, Scott, for the comment of the show, waiting for Coventry's open top bus parade, who won that? But look, that's the table as it is at the moment. We're over halfway there, Dave. Your hopes for the season?
Well, I looked today, and so I look at the sort of like the points average, and I think we're averaging something about. I think you're averaging just under 2.5 points a game. Hence, I'm not even sure you can get to 117, but anyway, that's by the by. I'm sure you can. But I think we're averaging about 2.14, something like that. And I worked out if we average even 1.5, which would be a pretty big drop off, 1.5 points per game for the remaining games, we'll finish on something like, I think it's 87 or 88 points. The way Southampton are going, Leeds, whether that would be enough to get us over the line, I'm not sure, but it's going to be.
Would the playoffs be failure for you now?
It's a tough one, mate. I mean, I suppose if you'd asked me that 4 or 5 games ago when we were 10 points clear, you'd probably. But look, it's gonna be look what an end to the, it's easy for us to say that we're just happy to be in the position we're in, and we just got to sit back and enjoy the run in whatever way it goes. And as we say, no doubt there'll be twists and turns as there is in football right the way through, but
Craig,
I don't know. The playoffs won't. Looking at the bigger picture at the start of the season, if you'd have said, "Well, we're going to make the playoffs," which let's face it, as I said before, we should now. I mean, we'd have all bitten our hand. But as we say, it's the overall narrative of the season now, isn't it?
Neither of us are going to get relegated. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I think we're all right on that. I think we're all right on that score.
Just worked it out, Craig. If we carry on the way we're going, 110 points is what we should.
That's right, 110
finish off. Which is one? Is it one? I don't know what Reading's record is. 106, isn't
106, it? 106. Yeah, let's beat that.
Yeah, Craig. I mean, looking at it, you've got to probably say the top 4 places are probably between those 4 teams. But the 5th and 6th place changes almost every week. You know, Preston have been in there, Middlesbrough have been in there, Sunderland have been in there, even Hull, you know, and Norwich at one point. What is Craig would be a disappointing season for us at this point? Playoffs would that be a disaster?
It would be a disappointment, I think. You know, I mean, we're going to be in the playoffs. I mean, how many points ahead are we of
27? I think
you must be 25, something like that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, you know, we could probably lose most games and still end up being there. So, I think it would be a major disappointment, and that would be a concern as to lifting the players to go into a playoff semi-final. Would be a major test of Maresca's managerial ability, I think. So it would be a disappointment, and I wouldn't put a lot of money on us getting out of them if we ended up in the playoffs, to be honest. So I think we need to push on, try and just, you know, for me, as long as we track those teams below, you know, I don't care really about stretching it. If we're matching their results week in, week out, then, you know, that's good enough for me.
We said, didn't we? Going up is the priority. As champions is the bonus, and if it's a record, we'll just take record, it.
To be honest, yeah.
Having said that, if your heart can take it, it's brilliant to go up via the playoffs, isn't it? If your heart can take it, though.
I don't know. No. We've had bad times in the playoffs. We've lost more than we have won.
We're good at losing playoff semi-finals going back in the day. We've only had one final which we won, but we're very good at losing playoff semi-finals. But I won't think about that now. But. I'm going to come to you first with this, Craig, and then I'll do the exact same question to Dave. I haven't been asking you this because literally week in, week out, the team has picked itself, and we used to do it every week, didn't we? Pick a team because you never knew with Rodgers which way it was going. Pretty much all season, you could say we could have told you what the game, you know, our team was 6 games in advance. Formation, I think we pretty much know. It's going to be that back 3 when we were going forward, back 4 when we're not, and 1 up front with the 2 wingers either side. Change. I mean, Fatawa's not going to be in. Yes, it's a big miss, but if he'd gone to AFCON, we'd have had to have got used to him not being there anyway. What do you think Maresca's going to do? You know, with regards, I mean, I suppose the 2 big questions are. Fatou's position and indeed his position.
I think it will be the same starting 11 for the last game. I think carve apart from, I think McAteer will come in for Fatawu. McAteer for me doesn't excite you as much as Fatawu, but I think what he does,
you said didn't have a future.
I said that a couple of seasons ago when he was playing at Gillingham in the FA Cup. I did say that, and I admitted to that. You know,
you did. You did.
And now you will mention it. I'd still be surprised if he appeared if we got promoted. I think he's a decent.
You know that.
I think he's a decent Championship player, and I think that is his ceiling. To be honest, sorry,
would you not start Yunus?
I probably not. I don't know. It's funny, isn't it? Because he tends to be looking at him more of a central midfielder at the moment. What I think McAteer does offer you is a bit more of a back post goal threat than Fatawu. If you look at a lot of McAteer's goals, particularly early in the season, he does attack that back post much better than Fatawu does. I think he scored a great goal against Southampton. I think he got us a late winner against someone. And so that is something, if you've got Manfredini putting the ball in the box enough, then I think you will find McAteer sneaking in round that back post. I think he'll play Cassidy instead of. I think he'll stick with him, to be honest. Again, he's really good aerial presence. I know he's getting a lot of stick at the moment, but he will get better with each game. The other thing is whether he brings Vardy back for Cannon, to be honest. Now, Vardy's was on the bench in the last game and has been training all week and apparently is fit and raring to go. So I wonder whether, I mean, Cannon ran himself a lot last week, but he was a little bit, he didn't look as much of a threat. I wonder whether he's going to mix it up again and try and catch Ipswich out and play Vardy. But they're the three. Everything else is nailed on.
Yeah. Yes, it is, exactly. I mean, Vardy, who hasn't scored in how many games before he got injured. I mean, Cannon, who's I mean, all right, you could say he didn't do well against Coventry. Who did? You know, we were out muscled all over the pitch there.
I'm just pointing out that there are other.
Oh no! I'm not. But I'm just playing devil's advocate here with you. I'm not saying you were.
That's my role.
Me, as much as I love Vardy, I think his time has come. And whilst opposition would look at him and go, "Thank God he's not on the starting pitch," I just wonder whether. I just don't think he offers us what he used to. I think we have.
I'll tell you what, something else that came out of Maresca's press conference today was interesting, or whether he said it the other day was the thoughts about Callum Doyle, and that there's a lot of talk that's saying that he wants to make that move permanent from Manchester City, and then he was talking about what Callum Doyle gives us. And we've talked about, and a lot of fans have been dismissive of the fact that we only play one way. And and we've talked about in the past the way that we're set up, we should switch the ball a lot more. The way that Liverpool did when they were playing with their three up front, with their two wide wingers, Salah and Mane, they played a lot of cross-field balls from back to front and caught the opposition out. And Maresca said that what Doyle brings us is that ability to switch the play from one side of the pitch to the other and play the ball in behind, which I think is quite encouraging, that he does see that as an option when you've got fast wingers and fast centre forwards. And we've got the feeling this season that we've all been about just playing it through the quarters and trying to eke little opportunities. And I think we saw against, I can't remember who the opposition was, but in the cup game, when Doyle played like a 40-yard pass straight through the middle to Cannon, who went round the keeper. So it's interesting to see that Maresca sees that as a viable alternative option, that when we've drawn teams onto us, he's not averse to putting a ball over the back for our forwards to run onto. And therefore that probably gives another little lease of life to Vardy, because he's not a player who can come to the ball and with good hold-up play.
I'm going to come on to you in a second, Dave. I haven't forgotten you, but I just want to add one last thing to Craig, because it's a bit of a discussion going on in the chat. Albrighton, does he get on at all?
Potentially. Yeah, it's not a bad shout, to be honest. He has got a chance there. I think what Albrighton gives you is quality into the box. And I think if that's the case, then he's going to have to play Cassidy in a more advanced position. But the other thing you talked about, indeed, is the fact that there's a clear doubt over Dewsbury Hall. So, that's got to be taken into account as well, that he may not play. So that midfield may be shaken up a little bit. But for me, if you're playing Albrighton, you've got to play Cassidy in a more advanced role, so you've got two people attacking any crosses.
Yeah.
Can I just say, so is it just now Albrighton and Vardy who are left from the title winning squad?
Probably is.
I think it is now. Yeah.
That speaks volumes. Certainly speaks volumes for Albrighton, doesn't it? Flipping it. Well, longevity he's had.
Still do. Oh, and Vardy, we didn't think.
Oh no, I mean Vardy's
The fact that
Vardy,
we're actually still talking to him now about him possibly coming on. But I've just had a phone call off Enzo. He is watching now. So if you can go through your formation, tactic, and player threats, please, Dave, and we'll start making some notes.
Well, it's going to be a solid. It'll be a solid 4-4-2. No. So it'll be it will be a tried and tested 4-2-3-1. So I think it will be Kladky in goal. He's been absolutely superb this season. Was very much our reserve keeper from last season, but just fits the whole McKenna ball, you call it that, ethos, possession football so well, so good with his feet. Had an absolutely brilliant season. So he'll be in goal. I think right back will be Harry Clark, local lad who was in our academy but moved away to Arsenal, but came back last season. Been for a bit of a sticky spell at times this season, carrying I think a slight ankle injury, but he was man of the match pretty much last Saturday, so he'll play. I think centre backs will be Luke Wolfenden and George Edmondson. Edmondson's just really got back from a bit of a long-term injury. He was very, very good a couple of seasons back in League One. Superb when we first signed him. Got a bad ankle injury, been struggling and usurped by Cameron Burgess. But as I said earlier, he's away. So I think Edmondson will play the left centre-back role. Left back stroke left winger, as you like to call him. Leif Davis will play on the left. Middle two will both be different from right the way through this season. The tried and tested middle two has been Sammy Morsey and Massimo Luongo. Morsey, as I said, is serving his second game of his suspension. Luongo has got an ankle injury, didn't make the bench or play against Sunderland. Think he might, I haven't really read too much from the club this week about that, so I think he may well be struggling. So central midfield, I would assume, will be Lewis Travers on loan from one of the two. Lewis Travers, who's on loan from Blackburn to the end of the season, made his debut last week. Really strong, solid debut. And either one of, it was Jack Taylor alongside him last week, or I guess potentially it could be Don Bull. And then the three will be Wes Burns on the right. I would assume Connor Chaplin playing the middle of the three, and I would have thought Nathan Broadhead left side, maybe Marcus Harness perhaps. We've just signed Jeremy Sarmiento on loan from Brighton. Potentially he might get a shout, but I would have thought it would, if they're all fit, I would have thought they'd been the three. And up front is the one. We had Caden Jackson, who played and scored last week. Not an out-and-out centre forward, very much a sort of pacey, sort of, a wide player, but can play through the middle on the shoulder. He scored last week. I would imagine we'll go with him again. It'll either be him or Freddie Ladapo, unless we sign a striker when he goes in the next 48 hours. And it will a bit longer than that now, isn't it, actually, because it's Monday. Unless we sign a striker in the next 72 hours and he goes straight in. I'd have thought it'd be Caden Jackson. Possibly a shout for Freddie Ladapo, but he's been sort of really struggling at higher echelons of the Championship, I'd say, this season. So I'd have thought Caden Jackson. So yeah, pretty much I would have thought the same side as we started with last week. And Neil, I just see Neil in the chat there. A special mention. I mean, Vas Sladky was very much our reserve keeper last season. We had Christian Walton in goal last season, who won the League One Golden Gloves. Absolutely outstanding. Picked up a bad foot injury just before the first game against Sunderland. And if you'd have said to me at the start of the season who were the first two or three players on the team sheet, it'd have been Christian Walton, Sammy Moores, and probably Leif Davis. So we all thought, crikey, we've got to go out and buy at least get a keeper in. But no, Kladky's been between the sticks ever since. Has been absolutely superb. So much so, Walton has just come in for the occasional cup match. So I would have thought that injuries permitting, the only thing I can't see changing there is if Massimo Luongo's fit, he may well play central mid with Lewis Travers, but don't know.
That's good. One difference there will be, Craig, between the teams is that McKenna will be at the side of the pitch. Enzo won't be. He doesn't seem too worried about it, though. And last time we had a manager that wasn't at the side of the pitch, which was Nigel Pearson when he was banned, found it so much better in the stands, and he stayed there for like an extra 10 games. Do you think? I mean, he says here in the press conference today, banned from the touchline. There is Willie and Danny on the bench. They're going to be there to help the team the way I do. We don't have a plan. We have 2 people there, and I'll be in contact with them. I'm sure there will be, earpieces and mouthpieces connected, won't there?
I think so. And to be honest, I think Maresca will probably still have as much presence on the sideline as Brendan Rodgers did. So,
stick
so
that
I
knife
think,
in and twist it a bit there, Craig.
yeah. So no, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, is he suspended?
Yeah, he'll be up in the stands. He got a 3rd yellow card against Cov.
Oh, right. I missed. Yeah.
He only misses one though, doesn't he? I believe.
Yeah.
McKenna is McKenna's very much a touchline manager, but certainly you won't see much animation from him as he speak. You hear him speak and interview, very measured. He's not that animated. It was quite funny for the West Brom game, seeing him on one side and Corberan on the other. He's complete nut, isn't he? He's just never still, is he? Absolutely headed and kicking every ball. So no, certainly, certainly he's a touchline manager, but very seemingly on the face of it quite calm and collected.
Coming up tomorrow, we have the prediction show at 7:00 with myself, Brad and Ant. I have just seen the scores come through, ready to do the up-to-date table, Craig, and all I can say is mind the gap, mate. Mind the gap. I think you were 2 points behind me. You're now a massive 3. So don't let it go to your head.
I'm coming for you, Chris.
You're coming. You're doing a Leeds, aren't you? That's what you're doing. But this game, your score predictions, Craig, so I can copy it.
So I haven't put mine in yet. So let me say I'm going to go.
This doesn't commit you, by the way. Whatever you say in this show doesn't commit you to having to stick to that for the predictions.
No, I get that. So are you going to copy whatever I say, Chris?
No, I'll go first because otherwise you'll go 7-0 or something, something like that. I was actually again asked this on the Talk Sport earlier, and Rich went 1-1. He was happy for the draw, but I went 2-1 because of the situation we're in, where we need that after what happened against Coventry. So I've gone 2-1 to Leicester. Craig.
Yeah, I was going to go 2-1. Now you've said that. I'm going to stick with 2-1 on here, but I may put a different one in the predictions because I need to beat you.
That's fine. Dave, what do you think?
I can only go along with my colleague Rich, and maybe a little bit of my heart rule in my head here, but yeah, I'm going to go for a 1-1.
1-1. I think, like we said many times last year, Craig, would you take a draw?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think a draw is not a bad result. I think the bad results now are dropping points to the teams behind you. Not dropping, but allowing them to get points on us. So if when we play Ipswich, when we play Southampton again, as long as we're not losing to them, for me that's decent results, and we pick up the points against the rest of the teams.
Yeah, and I think as long as if it's a draw, I will not be disappointed. I'll be disappointed, but I won't be, devastated.
You won't be on another rant.
Well, it depends how we draw.
Well, what about this time? It's a 95th 3 deflection equaliser or something like that.
Look, you are looking at the team here that was 2-1 up against Tottenham going into injury time and lost 3-2. So look, anything can happen. I'm still scarred from that. My therapist says it is good to talk though. But look, we always have a point in this. We mentioned it before. Dave, where we look back at players that played for both teams, foot in both camps. Now, I didn't realise this until I was looking, Craig. Matt Elliott played for Ipswich for 10 games.
Okay.
Played in a 2003-4, I think it was, playoffs. Actually, was with us for the last 10 games and played in a failed playoff attempt against West Ham.
Well.
So, I mean, I literally see it educational as well as entertaining this. But we'll go first of all because this player spent a lot more of his career at Ipswich than he did at Leicester. but your memories of probably one of your best goalkeepers, I'd have to say, Dave.
Yeah, fabulous. I mean, for the time in the early 80s, I'm talking about UEFA Cup winning side 79, 80, 81. He was the only non-international player on the in the first 11 or maybe even the first 12 there. So it was quite well documented that all the other players would be away on international duty and it'd just be him left behind. Absolutely brilliant. Had a real knack of saving penalties. I think it was that might have been 79-80 season when I think he faced something like, I'm sure I got this wrong. If I said he's faced something like 10 penalties and saved like 7 or 8 of them, it was really odd. He used to, I don't remember this. I don't know if subsequently he did this at 50 odd games. You may have seen him if you're still doing that at Leicester. He used to stand, literally give the penalty taker like 3/4 of the goal to aim at and actually lean the other way, and it just worked. He just found a rhythm there. But yeah, absolutely brilliant keeper, very quick. Apparently at the time he was the quickest guy at the club, and the sort of bloody really good strong left foot I remember as well, and the sort of player I think would have coped now, obviously with the no back pass stuff like that, would have coped really well. However, don't forget, for the majority of time he's Ipswich, he was playing originally behind Kevin Beattie and Alan Hunter, and then subsequently after that Terry Butcher and Russell Osman. So yeah, he had some pretty good and George Burley and Mick Mills as well. So he had some pretty good defence in front of him. But yeah, great keeper and you can see there, great servant to Ipswich.
Yeah, your memories of him, Craig?
Yeah, not a lot other than he's still well known for penalty saves. I think he did the same for us. He brought that record with him, and I think he just added to it. And I think sometimes more so back then, I think that experience of a goalkeeper was looked upon as something that was really important. If a keeper could bring his experience and play behind, not necessarily an experienced back four, but I think we had Russell Osman. It may have been the same time as well, but obviously Russell Osman came to us as well. But yeah, a steady, if unspectacular goalkeeper, but who you always thought if there was a penalty, he had a decent chance of saving it. But I mean, and interestingly, if I remember it rightly, back in the days where you could get away with not being a huge keeper as well, because he wasn't the biggest keeper.
Really good spring. He could leap. Yeah, he certainly wasn't 6 foot. I reckon 5'10", something like that. He really could spring. And don't forget, for him, I said he was the only non-international, English, playing in an era of Shilton and Clements, for God's sake,
He was, and a great advert for the mullet back in the day.
I think there's a few around there, weren't there?
Pretty good going on there. He's now, because we sometimes do a feature on this on our pod, or we have done in previous years. I think we've done a little bio on him. He was at one point running a sort of golf tours company over in Tenerife. I think he retired over there, or certainly Spain or Tenerife or something like that. Retired over there. So yeah, having a nice life, I think.
He's 70 now, by the way, just out of interest.
Mad, isn't it?
And he was 5'11".
There you go.
Yeah. Whether he still is or not, of course, I don't know.
Having said that, guys, at Ipswich, I don't know if you remember this keeper. He replaced Laurie Civil at Ipswich, who was literally about 5'8", 5'9".
I don't remember. Anybody else? Can you remember that's played for us both, guys?
Didn't Mark Venus?
Did he Scowcroft? Scoey?
Yeah, Scowcroft.
Yes, of course. That was a good one. But look, Dave, thank you so much for coming on, mate. I wish you all the best for the rest of the season, apart from obviously Monday night. I do hope you come up with us. Just give your channels a shout out.
Yeah, it's a Blue Monday podcast. We've been going now. This is now into our 8th season. I think we've just done our 750th 50th episode. So yeah, on all the good podcast platforms, you can find us bluemonday.com.
Brilliant, mate. All the best, like I say, and hopefully we'll be speaking to you next season because we've both gone up.
Guys, I hope so. Thanks a lot for having me on. Cheers.
All the best, mate. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. So, talking to podcast, don't forget to check it out. All these shows are uploaded. They are Don't know how it works on YouTube, but apparently the YouTube do podcasts as well. But you can pick us up on Spotify and all the main podcasts via the TalkSport Fan Network, and check their podcast out as well. We were on it earlier on today. Are you still with us, Craig?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you, but
yeah. I seem to have frozen in time there.
You do. Yeah. Now, you're not going to be here next week because it is the FA Cup, and I'm not going to be doing the watch long. We will be doing a preview, but that's I know you're otherwise engaged. But it is Birmingham next up for us after this. Rooney-less.
Yes, I know. New manager in. It'd be interesting to see what they do, because I don't think they pulled up any trees. But then that was a decent win for them coming from behind in the cup against Hull. That would have done them a lot of good. But no, I mean, cup games are one-offs, aren't they now? I think, and into extra time and penalties. So it'll be interesting, and hopefully a decent crowd and a decent atmosphere.
I think so, but I think it's a case of and I've said this in the last round, not the end of the world if we lose it, because it's not our priority this season, is it?
No, that's true. I think that we've had all this talk about hoping to get a home tie. Then I hope that we make the most of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Mate, have a good one. Have a great weekend. All the best to all your family, and enjoy whatever you're going to be doing next Thursday. And I hope you can get some WD-40 and get yourself moving again.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you, mate. Take care. Bye-bye. So Craig there, frozen in time. Let it go. Oh, now there he is. Just to say he's back again. There we go.
I am alive. There we go.
Just to show he is alive. All the best, mate.
Right.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye, everyone.
I was worried about him then. But there we go. Ipswich, Monday night. And it is going to be all kicking off at 8 o'clock. And, of course, as always, we will be doing a watch-along. And we will be here. There we will be. Cheers, Craig. Thanks so much, mate. And let me just move that out the way so you can see it. No, not that. There we go. Matchday Live here on Monday at 7:15 p.m. Taking you through the team selection and the match, and obviously the instant reaction as well. So on Monday night there will be no debate show. We may put that back to the Tuesday, but we may do a post-match probably on the Tuesday anyway. But look, thanks very much for everybody that's been on. Thanks to Dave from Blue Monday Podcast. Lovely set of guys there. Really do appreciate him coming on. And Craig, as always, our wise old owl. And to all you lot for being in and joining in, thank you very much. And if you have been listening via your favourite podcast platform, we really do appreciate you lending us your ears. You can have them back now. Take care. I will see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock for the prediction show. All the best. Have a good one. I'm off to watch The Traitors. Absolutely hooked. Take care.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You'd better like them too, or I'll be back.
The TalkSport Fan Network is the ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts,
including Leicester Till I Die, independent analysis and reaction for the Foxes faithful.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
Unbeatable club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Follow the podcast on the TalkSport Fan Network.